Seeing the complete picture. One of the great lessons we can learn in life is that we often don't see the complete picture. When we face difficult moments, our vision is limited to the present, and this can lead to doubts and restlessness. However, just like a work of art that takes time to be completed, our lives are in constant development. God, as the great artist, is working on every detail, even when we can't perceive it. Trusting in God's timing allows us to rest in the certainty that, in the end, the complete picture will be revealed in all its beauty. This perspective is especially useful when we face waiting periods. Think, for example, about how planting a seed requires patience. We don't see the plant's growth overnight, but we know that with the right time and care, it will flourish. Similarly, divine blessings often come at the right time after periods when it seems like nothing is happening. These moments of silence are actually part of the growth process that God is working in our lives, and we need to trust to see the final result. Seeing the complete picture also helps us realize that the challenges we face have a greater purpose. We often go through difficulties that shape and prepare us to receive something greater. A practical example of this is when a person is facing a financial crisis. It may seem like there is no way out, but with faith and patience, they can use that moment to reevaluate their priorities, learn more about financial management, and even seek new opportunities. When God's promises are fulfilled, they realize that the difficult period was actually preparation for something better. It's interesting to note how this broader view also helps us be more patient with the small day-to-day situations. When we understand that God is taking care of every detail, we can face moments of frustration with more serenity. Something as simple as a delay can be seen differently when we trust that everything is happening for a reason. This trust in God helps us develop a calmer attitude in the face of uncertainties. Seeing the complete picture of life helps us find more peace and purpose in every moment, knowing that God is working for us. And with this vision, we can transform waiting into an opportunity for preparation and spiritual growth. Now that you've made it this far, it's time to reflect on everything that has been said and apply this knowledge to your life. God has a plan for you, and every moment of waiting is an opportunity to strengthen your faith. What will you do from now on? Will you continue to despair, or will you trust that God's promises will be fulfilled at the right time? This is a choice that can transform your life. Think about how you can live with more patience, trust, and surrender to God's purpose from today onward. If this content helped you in any way, leave a comment expressing your gratitude and share what God has done in your life. Or, if you are still waiting for a miracle, leave your prayer request because we are here to pray for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can continue receiving messages that will strengthen your faith and help you face life's challenges with hope and trust. Have you ever felt on the verge of despair, as if your prayers were not being heard and nothing was happening the way you expected? Maybe everything seems stagnant, and doubt begins to weigh on your heart. But what if I told you that what you are experiencing now is part of a much bigger plan? A plan from God who is working in the details, even when you can't see it. That sounds intriguing, doesn't it? Because the truth is that God's timing is perfect, and the blessing you so desperately await will come at the exact moment. In this video, you will discover why you don't need to despair, how to truly trust in God, and most importantly, how to strengthen your faith while waiting for the miracle. So stay with me until the end, because what you are going to hear today can completely change the way you see this phase of your life. If this content resonates with your heart, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and leave your like so that this message can reach more people who also need this reflection. And if you are in need of help, leave your prayer request in the comments. We will be praying for each of you with great care. The importance of patience in life. Patience is a virtue often mentioned but little understood in its depth. In life, moments of waiting can leave us restless and anxious, especially when the outcome we desire seems to take time. However, it is precisely during these periods of uncertainty that trust in God becomes essential. For Christians, understanding that everything happens in God's time is the first step to cultivating unshakable faith. This process involves recognizing that we don't always control the events around us, but we can choose to trust in God's promises. One of life's greatest challenges is maintaining Christian hope during times of despair. We often want solutions to arrive immediately, for miracles to happen according to our timing. However, God teaches us through biblical reflections that waiting is part of spiritual growth. Patience in faith is like a seed planted in the soil. It requires care, watering, and most of all, time to flourish. It's no wonder that many believers, when looking back, recognize that waiting moments were, in fact, preparation for something greater. A practical example illustrating this importance is the act of waiting for a promotion at work. Sometimes we feel ready to move forward, but the doors seem closed. At that moment, it is crucial to remember that God has a plan, and His timing is perfect. Many times, He is preparing us in ways we cannot perceive. By practicing patience, one learns to appreciate the journey, not just the final destination. Thus, instead of despair, a deep trust in the divine blessings that are yet to come emerges. Another relevant point is how this patience can be applied in everyday life. When we face a problem, whether at home, at work, or in our relationships, instead of reacting impulsively, we can reflect on how to act with wisdom and patience. A simple example would be in situations of family conflict. Instead of acting impulsively, a person could seek biblical reflection, allowing faith to guide their actions with more serenity. These lessons about patience pave the way for another essential question. How can we draw inspiration from examples of faith found in Scripture? Great biblical figures faced intense challenges, but even so, they maintained unwavering trust in God's timing. After all, how can we learn from them and apply their experiences in our own lives? This brings us to the next point: biblical examples of faith. Throughout the Bible, we find powerful examples of faith and perseverance. Abraham, for instance, received the promise that he would be the father of a great nation, but this promise did not materialize immediately. 4 years, he had to trust in God's timing, even when everything seemed improbable. Abraham is a clear example of someone who maintained unshakable faith, knowing that God's promises would be fulfilled, even if they took time. In times of waiting, trust in God becomes the foundation that sustains the heart. Another inspiring example is that of Moses, who faced enormous challenges in leading the people of Israel out of Egypt. For 40 years, Moses guided the people through the desert without knowing exactly when they would reach the promised land. God's timing manifested in unexpected ways, and even in the face of immense obstacles, Moses kept Christian hope alive. His story teaches us that even when the path seems uncertain, divine blessings come at the right time for those who persevere. David's story also offers us profound lessons about patience in faith. Before becoming king, David went through years of trials and persecution. Even though he was anointed for the throne, He had to wait for God's timing for his promise to be fulfilled. During this period, David faced countless challenges, but he never lost sight of God's promises. His life shows us that no matter how difficult the path may be, God is preparing something grand, and the miracles at the right time happen for those who trust and wait. These biblical examples can be applied to the everyday life of anyone. Think about waiting situations like the dream of starting a new business or achieving an important personal goal. Just as Abraham, Moses, and David waited with faith, we too can learn to practice patience and trust in God's perfect timing. These waiting moments can be seen as opportunities for growth, not as barriers. These biblical examples lead us to reflect on how we can apply these lessons in our daily lives, especially when God's timing seems different from ours. But how exactly can we understand this divine timing and its implications in our lives? Understanding God's timing. Understanding God's timing is one of the greatest challenges for those seeking a deep and lasting faith. Often in life, we have deadlines and expectations that do not align with what actually happens. When everything seems out of control, it's natural to question why things aren't happening in the time we planned. However, the Bible reminds us that God's timing is perfect, and even if we cannot see the full picture, He is working for our good. This invites us to cultivate unshakable faith, even in the face of uncertainties. Understanding divine timing requires patience and, above all, trust in God. There are moments when, no matter how hard we try, doors seem to close. Instead of seeing this as a failure, it is important to remember that God has a bigger plan, which sometimes involves waiting to prepare us for what is to come. A practical example of this is when we desire a change in our lives, like a promotion at work or an opportunity that seems distant. Even in those moments, we need to trust in God's promises and understand that He knows the exact moment to act. Furthermore, understanding God's timing transforms our perspective on life's challenges. What once caused us anguish can now be seen as a moment of preparation and strengthening. Instead of despairing over what seems like a delay, we can view the waiting process as a phase of spiritual growth. Many, when looking back, realize that the greatest miracles at the right time came after periods of difficulty and biblical reflection. Thus, waiting on the Lord becomes an exercise in faith and patience. In practical life, this understanding can be applied in several ways. When a person faces financial difficulties, for example, it may be tempting to want an immediate solution. However, trusting in God's timing means understanding that sometimes He is shaping and preparing us for a greater blessing. During this waiting period, it is possible to seek ways to grow personally, such as learning new skills, strengthening faith through prayer, and getting more involved in the Christian community, knowing that the answer will come at the right time. Understanding God's timing invites us to reflect on how this waiting can be an opportunity to improve our lives and prepare us for the blessings to come. But how can we maintain a positive and balanced attitude during this wait? Practical advice for daily life. Maintaining a positive attitude during periods of waiting may seem challenging, but it is one of the greatest exercises of faith we can practice. Patience is not something that comes naturally to many, and that's why it's important to create daily routines that help us develop this virtue. One of the most powerful practical tips is to start the day with a prayer, seeking to renew our trust in God. When we do this, we focus on God's promises, which helps us face daily challenges with a stronger faith and a Christian hope that is constantly renewed. In addition to prayer, engaging with a faith community can bring emotional and spiritual support during times of waiting. Often, The strength needed to continue comes from the encouragement of others who share the same values. Joining prayer groups or Bible study is an excellent way to maintain patience in faith. Surrounding yourself with people who share the same commitment to biblical reflection helps keep us firm, especially when difficult times seem to test our faith. Another practical piece of advice is to take advantage of waiting moments as opportunities for personal growth. Instead of being consumed by anxiety, a person can use this time to acquire new skills or deepen their knowledge about something that brings them closer to their goals. For example, if someone is waiting for a professional change, they can use this period to study, read inspiring books, or even seek new courses that increase their qualifications. Thus, waiting ceases to be just a moment of frustration and becomes a time of preparation for the divine blessings that are to come. Having a positive outlook also involves developing patience with the small things in everyday life. For example, when facing situations like traffic or long lines, it is possible to use these moments to reflect, meditate, or even listen to inspiring messages that reinforce faith. Small daily practices can make a big difference in strengthening unshakable faith. Even in the simplest moments, trust in God can be renewed, allowing every part of our day to be an opportunity for spiritual growth.